Hey, we're live on Facebook. It's Joanne Musa, the Tax Lien Lady. Today is Tax Lien Investing Tips. And today we are talking about how to evaluate tax sale properties. And I got to get my, here it is, my marker. All right. So say hello, let me know when you come on, let me know where you're coming in from, so that when I give you these tips, I can tailor it to your state, because it is different. Every state is a little different when it comes to tax lien and tax deed investing. All right, so yesterday we talked about 5 steps when you're going to, this week was about preparing for your first tax sale. So yesterday we talked about 5 steps for going to your first tax sale, for buying profitable tax liens. All right, 5 basic steps. And the first one was selecting the right place to invest. And the second one was tracking down the information, getting the tax sale information, including the list. And the third one was evaluating the tax sale properties, right? And so today we're going to concentrate a little bit more on evaluating the tax sale properties. The fourth one was preparing to go to the sale, and the fifth thing was actually bidding. Okay. So, and in preparing to go to the sale, that was determining how much you're going to bid and getting your payment ready, making sure that you're registered for the sale on time and all that stuff, right? Okay, so today we're talking about evaluating tax sale properties. So, and it's different for tax liens and for tax deeds and for land than it is for houses, if you're bidding on houses. So let's first talk about when you're bidding on tax liens. Okay, you want to look at the assessment data, the numbers, what is the property worth? What is the building worth? And the assessment will also tell you what type of property is. So you want to take a look at the assessment. And then the next thing that you want to look at is there a mortgage on the property? Okay. And where does the owner live? Do they live in the property? What is the owner's address? Okay. The other thing that you want to take a look at is environmental issues. And is it in a floodplain? Or what is the grade of the property, as say? So you want to take a look at the map, okay, and environmental data. Oh, I already wrote environmental, okay. And is it in a floodplain? Let me get my eraser here. Is it in a floodplain? Flood risk. So you're looking at the environmental risk and flood risk, okay? And you're looking at the property on a map. Now, if possible, you want to actually physically look at the property, okay? But you might not be able to do that if you're going to a sale where there's a lot of liens in the sale, right? You might not be able to do that. So, so that's what you're going to do when you're going to a lien sale. Now, how do you do that? How do you get all this information, and how do you get it all in one place and make it easy? Well, my clients and I, my coaching clients and members of the Tax Lien Profits Accelerator, we use a program called Tax Sale Finders that I give to my clients. I give them a subscription. I pay for them to have use of it, okay? And it gives they can actually see what tax sales are coming up around the country. Once they know where they're going to invest, they can filter the list, and then they can look at, my coaching clients get 50 property reports a month, and it's got all this information on it except for the owner's information. So that is the only thing that they have to look up separately. All right, and for that, there's a link to the assessor's page, and they just look it up on the assessor's page, and it gives the owner's name and address, and that's how you can tell if the owner lives in the property or not. Okay, so that's for liens. What about for deeds? Okay, so for deeds, we're going to do everything that we did for liens, okay? But we're going to definitely look at the property. So for deeds, we're going to physically look at the property or have somebody look at it for us. And we're going to physically, I don't know if that is 2 L's or 1, look at property. So you want to physically look at the property. Okay. Oh, hi, Ray. Glad you're here. If you know anybody else that could use this, share this with them. I just went over, we're going over evaluating tax sale properties. I just went over all the things you want to look at for liens, and now we're going over everything else that you want to do for deeds. Okay, so we went over all the things that you look at for liens already, so you can always review the replay to find that out. And now I'm going to go for deeds, what extra stuff you have to do for deeds. All right, for deeds, you want to do a title search. And you're not going to pay for somebody to do a title search. You're just going to search the title on your own. And what you're going to do is you're looking for liens and judgments. You're looking for liens and judgments on the property, you know, other liens and judgments, and you're searching on the owner's name. So you're going to go into the public records and search the owner's name. If there's 2 owners, you want to search both their names, and you're looking for what's filed against them, because that will be filed against the property if they are the owners of the property. All right, so and you'll also be able to see the deed to the property. So you want to look up the deed to the property. And the other thing that you want to do is you want to check the laws regarding the tax sale in your state that you're in. You want to find out like what liens will survive a tax sale. For instance, any government liens are going to survive a tax sale. You know, if there's IRS liens, that's going to survive a tax sale. But in some states, other things might survive a tax sale. You need to know that before you bid on a deed. So you need to know the state laws of what survives, what liens survive a tax sale. Okay, it's different for different states. Okay, what else do you need to do? There is one other thing that you want to do when you're buying a deed in a deed sale, and that is you want to check for proper notification. What do I mean by that? It's when a property goes into a deed sale, and the reason why you want to do the title search, right? You're not paying for a title search. You don't want a title company to do it because you don't want to pay for title insurance. But you want to search the title. And if you go to the public records, so here in Pennsylvania, we have what's called a prothonotary. Go to the prothonatory's office and you ask somebody there. They should be able to help you with this. And you're going to, again, you're going to search on the owner's name and you're going to see what is filed, what mortgages or liens are filed on that property. And anybody that has a lien on that property, if there's a mortgage, a second mortgage, whatever it is, a judgment, they have to be notified. And the owners, any owners have to be notified. And so how do you check and see if they're properly notified? And here's the thing, if they were not properly notified before the deed sale, they can come back after you bought the property at the deed sale and say that it was sold in error because they were never notified. They have to go to court and prove it, but then they would have to, and they would have to pay the taxes. They'd have to pay you whatever you paid and get the property back, but then you wouldn't get anything, right? All that trouble for nothing. So I like to make sure that they were properly notified. Now here in Pennsylvania, there is, and by the way, the upset sales are going on now in Pennsylvania. There is what's called the Tax Claim Bureau. So if I go to the Tax Claim Bureau and I ask to see the file for whatever properties that I want to bid on, they show me the file and I can look in that file and see that there's been proper notification. How do I tell? Because if somebody was properly notified, it has to be sent certified mail or delivered in person. So if it was sent certified mail, they would have that little green card signed that it was received. Okay. If it was sent, it has to be sent certified mail with notification that it was received. So, or it has to be delivered, hand delivered, and then there would be something signed off by the county sheriff saying that it was delivered. Okay, so that's how I know if it was, if proper notification was given. Now, what if this is in a different state? It's not Pennsylvania, or I'm doing it online. You would have to check with whoever is doing the sale and say, how can I check for notification? Okay. All right. So, but what if, all right, so we went over what if you're bidding on liens. And so we went over that first. So if you weren't here for that, just watch the replay of this. And we went over everything that you do for liens. Now for deeds, you're going to do all that, what we mentioned there, and you're going to do this. All right, but what if, whether you're bidding on a lien or deed, what if it's vacant land? Then there's a little bit more that you have to do. I mean, if it's a lien, you're going to do what we talked about for liens. And whoops, I didn't mean to erase the deeds. Okay. So for deeds, you're going to do this plus what I told you for deeds, right? Now for land, if it's liens, you're going to do that. If it's a deed, you're going to do that. Okay, but then you want to do one other thing. Actually, let me just check something here. I am looking at, okay. You want to physically look at the property. And by the way, guys, I have a checklist for all these things, and that's what I'm referring to. It's in my courses, that my courses come with this checklist, and some of my workshops also come with this checklist for doing due diligence. So how would you guys like a master class on doing due diligence? Because there's only so much I could give you. There's only so much I could give you in the 20 minutes that we do these like quick trainings, right? So I am putting together a master class for evaluating tax sale properties because I think that is the most important thing that people tell me that they need to know, or that's the thing that's stopping them from actually buying properties at a tax sale, actually going to a tax sale. So, keep your eyes posted here. We also have a wealth building webinar next week, next Wednesday night. Next Wednesday night is our next wealth building webinar. And so keep your eyes posted in here in the Facebook group to find out what our topic is for the next webinar that we'll be doing, wealth building webinar next Wednesday night. And also when I'll be doing that masterclass. On evaluating tax sale properties. All right, so what do you need to do for land? Whether it's deeds or liens, what extra do you have to do for land? Well, I recommend that you physically look at the property, because there's things that you can't see on a map. You can't see the grade of the property. You can't see if it's a ditch. You can't see if it's underwater or swamp. Okay, so you physically look at it or have somebody else look at it for you, okay? Or maybe you know the area. You can also check with the zoning officer, which is something that I recommend you do anyway. You want to call the zoning department in that town and find out if you can build on it. You need to know the zoning requirements, okay? We already talked about checking for the flood risk. So because we do that even for liens. So you would have done that already. But here's the other thing that you have to check with zoning about. Where I live in a rural area. There's no sewer system where I live. Everybody has their own septic. So if I'm going to build on a lot out here, I need to know that it will pass a septic test, a perk test. All right, I need to know. Now, they can't tell me if it will pass a perk test, but the zoning officer can tell me if they think it will pass a perk test, if the property is around it. If it has houses around it, that's good. All right, because that means it might pass a perk test. But where I live, that can also be bad, because your septic system has to be so far away from somebody else's well. It has to be 100 feet from anybody's well. And so what's happened in the past, they sold lots out here before those codes were put into place. So if you bought a lot like 20, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, you might not be able to build on that lot today because the codes have changed. So you need to check, will it pass a perk test? Now, you're not going to know for sure without actually having somebody do a perk test, but the zoning officer can probably tell you if it's likely to pass a perk test or not. The other thing is it might be too rocky to pass a perk test. And that's one of the reasons why you want to look at the property, physically look at the property if it's land. Now, where I am, I'm in a mountainous area, so I have to worry about things like grade, will it perk, because I'm in a rural area. Now, the other thing that you might have to worry about if you're in a desert area, like in the western states, is do you have water rights? Does it have water rights? The other thing that you have to worry about in some states is, does somebody else own the mineral rights under the land, right? So these are all things that you just have to be mindful of. You have to know the area you're investing. So what do I look for when I'm looking for building lots? I'm looking for that it has road frontage. Okay, if it has road frontage, it's probably buildable, right? And utilities. If there are houses around it and it's got road frontage, it probably has access to utilities. All right, but if it's out in the middle of nowhere and it has no road frontage, it could be landlocked. So those are things that would preclude me from bidding on it. All right, so that's it for today. We talked about evaluating tax sale properties. And if you came late, if you came late and you didn't see the beginning, watch it from the beginning, because I had to erase stuff that I put in the beginning to write stuff as I went along. So in the beginning, we talked about what to look for liens. Then we talked about what extra stuff you have to look for deeds, and then what extra stuff you have to look for land, whether it's liens or deeds. All right, I will see you guys Monday morning at 9:30, and our topic next week is to be determined. Okay. Hey, Jean, yeah, watch the replay. And don't forget to share this with anybody else that you think would benefit. And keep your eyes open in here in the Facebook group for our topic and the link to our next wealth building webinar. To register for our next wealth building webinar Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And we will also be doing a master class on this, on evaluating tax sale properties. So keep your eyes open for that. Okay, the information will be here in the Facebook group, and I'm sure you'll be getting emails about it from me as well. All right, everybody, I'll see you Monday.